Welcome to Phantom Mayonnaise. Today we got a good one going for you. We got some fresh beers. We've got Elysian Full Contact, okay? Because we are in some full contact comic books.
Oh yeah!
So,
also, we are not sponsored by them, but Elysian, I'll happily get drunk for you.
We get at least like 20 views, which could sell 1 to 20 beers.
Yeah, I'll be Mr. Elysian. Mr. E, if you will.
Mr. E.
Mr. E. And when I fart, I'll go, no, that's some space dust.
No, that is some space dust. Don't drink and drive, kids.
Be responsible.
Me just thinking like, wait, kids don't drive anyways, but that's
Hey,
fine.
you know what would be really fun? We're going to do a segment where we spike a kid's birthday party, their punch, and then we all show up with like the red, yellow little things that you get in, and you just drive with your feet.
Yeah.
And we'll see how well they do.
That sounds illegal.
Bring us to your next baby shower.
Yes, the baby shower where they all just bring babies.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is why I don't have kids.
Yeah, me either. Okay.
Comics.
So, we're back into comics, right? You guys probably thought, you know, for like the first 12 videos, oh, where's the comics? Because they told
Where's
us.
that missing pillar?
Right, well, now we're all comics all the time.
Nothing but.
Yes. So, we did the origin stories from Action Comics #1 and Detective 27 for Batman and Superman, respectively, in a couple videos ago.
Yep.
So now we are going to jump into some modern stories. This video is going to be on Superman Secret Origins with writing duties by Geoff and art duties by Gary Frank. And so we're going to hop into a Superman origin story, but with a modern take.
Yeah.
Okay? And stick around for the next video, which is going to be on Batman Court of Owls, which is going to be going over the New 52 first arc of Batman, which will give Garrett kind of a modern sensibility for Batman. So stick around, guys. We got some fun comic stuff going on. But like I said today, Superman Secret Origins. We've got all the fun covers here. Garrett, let's try to hold them.
Let's do this. Am I taking 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah. Let's try to hold them so they match.
Where you at, bud?
Where are you at? Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I mean, besides my finger maybe getting in the way of Dad Clark over here, but...
Yeah, we've got all the nice matching covers here. So, this is a very cool book.
Yeah.
This is, you know, if you were to look up best Superman stories of all time, typically what you'll find is that people are infatuated with the origin of Superman.
Yeah.
This whole story of the, you know, Krypton blowing up and the baby being shot to Earth it works every time.
Yeah.
Even when people screw around with it, maybe they have the baby fall at a different place. Maybe they do, you know, some oddball origins.
Yeah.
It works every time, and so a lot of times people really love this story.
Yeah.
And so Superman Secret Origins is like it was DC's attempt at making an official origin story. The problem was that they had already done this twice within the last like 20 years before this. So in 1985, there was an event called Crisis on Infinite Earths,
Okay.
which you may have heard of, just maybe in the zeitgeist of comics.
Well, when I was 1, I was reading it for sure.
Of course. That was definitely in your poll list in 1985.
Was. Yeah. Oh, 1985?
Yeah.
My negative 9 years old.
Your zygote.
Yes, my zygote was reading this.
Oh, so what had happened is DC had been around since the 1930s, publishing comics. They had now created, you know, through the 1940s and 50s, a universe together with characters, which was brand new at the time.
Yeah.
And then they had screwed around with this universe for 30 years, and what they had done is they had created offshoot Earths. So there was like Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 3, Earth 56, Earth 1,000,000, Earth, you know.
Yeah.
There's all these Earths with multiple realities, and all these people are writing all this sci-fi gobbledygook about a million comic characters on different Earths. It was hell to keep up with.
Yeah.
So DC said, let's make an event as told by the best writers and artists at the time and destroy all of the Earths and make it just one Earth. So it's easy for new readers.
Yeah.
Because at the time, they were starting to struggle with readership.
Yeah.
And so what they wanted was a universe that people that weren't around in the 40s could join in fresh with DC Comics.
Well, you know, if you're a long-time reader, that having multiple Earths is probably really fun to get fresh takes on characters you love.
And it super
but
is.
If you're someone who is, where the hell do I even begin? oh well, Earth 1 you get this, Earth 2 you get this.
Right.
It's a great route to go to say, hold on, we need to get some more people back into reading this because people don't know where to start. Especially when you have a comic coming out every weekend, and let's say you have Earth 1 this weekend and then Earth 2 the next weekend, and then people, which one am I supposed to read? These stories don't make sense.
Right.
Not to interrupt.
That wasn't interrupting. I mean, that is why they did it. It was just too confusing, and they noticed in their metrics, even at the time when comics were on newsstands and stuff, they weren't getting young readers. And so what they did is they had this event that destroyed all the Earths down to one.
Yeah.
And it was just the core group of heroes. And so this was a big success. So after Crisis on Infinite Earth, 1986 on, they had like kind of a small reboot. And so what they did is John Byrne retold the origin of Superman in a story called Man of Steel.
Okay.
And this was really popular. A lot of people still think that's probably one of the best Superman stories of all time. Probably the best origin story. And then that was the official canon origin until probably the early 2000s, mid-2000s, and then Mark Waid wrote Superman Birthright. And what you'll find is in movies like Man of Steel and stuff that's in popular culture now, you'll find a mixture of the origin story of Birthright and Secret Origin, what you just read.
Okay,
They'll
cool.
kind of meld the two of them to form like the fan favorite one.
Okay, sweet.
Okay, so Birthright was really good and it's well received by anybody who's ever read it, and I own it. It's very good.
Okay.
It's just 12 issues, and I was thinking Secret Origin, 6 issues, a little easier for you that just wants to jump in and see if you like Superman.
Well, I'm really bad at reading.
Oh, sure. Sure.
I read good.
So, Superman Birthright was kind of the canonized thing, and really shortly after, this book came out in 2009, 2010.
Okay.
And
really?
yeah, so DC didn't let Birthright live for very long, which pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah.
But Geoff Johns was the hot writer at the time.
Okay.
And so Geoff Johns had kind of, he cut his teeth on Flash, Wally West Flash, like the Flash in the Justice League animated show.
Yeah. Great show.
So he cut his teeth on that.
Okay.
And then he got this really great gig on Green Lantern. And he is the guy that really revolutionized Green Lantern. Hal Jordan.
Okay.
He brought back Hal Jordan for this. That he's who introduces all the different colored cores other than yellow.
Oh, sweet.
He's the man who like did all this fun mythos stuff and had like a 5 to 7 year run on Green Lantern that everybody agreed was tits.
Yeah.
It was just really good.
Yeah.
And as
so
part of that,
when we grade this comic book series later on, we're gonna go how many tits out of 10?
how many? Sure.
How many tits we giving this?
How many green tits? So what happened is he did a story called Green Lantern Secret Origin.
Yeah.
And the idea was that he was going to go back and show us the origin of Hal Jordan and Sinestro.
Right.
Well, DC really liked that.
Yeah.
So they said, why don't you do a Superman origin, but it won't be as part of Action Comics, which Geoff Johns was also currently writing.
Okay.
And the artist was Gary Frank.
Cool.
So they had worked together before on some Superman. Gary Frank and Pete Woods had switched off duties between a Legion of Superhero story and a story called Brainiac, which had done huge numbers. Those are iconic Superman stories.
Yeah.
Those will also be in like a top 20 list you look up.
Okay.
So we've got like the hottest Superman writer and the hottest Superman artist, the writer that has just sculpted DC's universe. They're going to make them redo the Superman origin. So this was a hyped comic, in other words.
Yeah.
And so this came out, and everybody generally likes it.
Yeah.
There's the people that are stuck, the people from the 80s that will never give up the John Byrne origin.
Yeah.
And it's a great origin.
Yeah.
And then there's the people that will never give up Birthright, because that was their origin.
Yeah.
But for me, my origin is Superman Secret Origin.
Oh, so
it's
some
very
high
good.
stakes on this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what this book did really well is it didn't shit on the other origins.
Yeah.
It didn't say, your idea was wrong, mine's better. It sculpted those into this idea of Superman's Secret Origin, and it took everything from his history and made a nice, modern, clean origin story. And you not only get Superman, but you get Lex Luthor, Lois Lane, Lana Lang, you get all the characters together.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's your publication history on this book and why it was important when it came out.
Well, and to start, I mean, kind of that whole thing was really about just the different origins. And I think that's a great place to start when talking about these, because you can look at Superman's origin story, just an alien shot down to Earth in a world that's just exploding and destroying itself.
Yeah.
It sounds, it's such a trope. It is such a trope, and you're like, this happens all the time in sci-fi and stuff like that. But Superman always gets away with it because it's always so well written. And I don't know, maybe it's because it's like, yeah, how else do superheroes get superpowers here in the DC world? And my buddy and I were actually talking about it the other day. I said, would you rather be in a DC world or a Marvel world? And he said, oh, I like DC a lot more. And I go, I agree, but the only way to get superpowers in DC as a regular human is to fall in a pat of acid. So I might go Marvel, or I might have a chance of being a mutant.
Sure.
But, and so that's the thing with DC is they can have these tropes that happen time and time again, and they still set them up very, very well. And and every single time it's not, oh great, here's another old wizard who is all wise and everything. It's like, oh yeah, this is great. This is an awesome, believable, and I'm never gonna get tired of how it's done. And so like I really just want to say it's always so well written when they do have their trope style beginnings, because they write them so well that you're not, it's not just another slap in the face of bam, here's another one.
Right. The origins for a lot of the core DC characters that have been around for 80 years are always going to be zany.
Yes.
But you got to put yourself back in that time where, you know, that story of an alien baby from a, you know, distant world being destroyed was brand new.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And like, you know, at the time, you know, in the 40s, the Flash, Jay Garrison, I'm trying to remember his name. Jay Garrett. See, you guys were doubting me, and I nailed it.
Never doubt him. Believe in him.
His origin story is all about, you know, World War II, dehydrated water, and all these crazy, you know.
Yeah.
And it's all zany stuff, but it sort of gets that pass because it was created far before characters like Spider-Man were created in the 60s.
Well, and you know, the one thing about Superman's origin story too is it also just creates so much mystery, which is also some of the things that you really like about him. And one of the things that's great about this comic book series, to really start diving into it, is a lot of other ones, when they say we shoot him down to earth, they just say, oh, he just grew up in Smallville, he's a totally normal kid, and then here he is, a superhero. This one's fun because in a real world setting, this one has just so much realism to it, mixed in with the magical stuff that happens in comics, which is really fun. But the realism is, you get to see him grow up. You get to see him go through the troubles of dealing with how to control himself and not show the world who he really is. And it's that made me really love this series of comics, which is why before the video started, I asked, was this the first 6 of the series? Because it sets up like this could have a huge run. And I like every single page. It just makes you want to turn to the next one. Every single page is set up like a story. You know how in the English class they show you that little graph how this thing is set up. Or there's an intro, rising action, climax, resolution. Every single page is set up like this, and every single one. There's always on every page something happens. There's a little bit of rising action, a little tiny climax, and then it resolves, and then you just want to flip to the next page. Okay, what's happening next? And so you almost get a bunch of little stories, like when we read the first Superman comic.
Yeah.
But these ones hold together in such a way that they're so tightly stitched that they also don't seem Superman just went and beat some wife beater's ass. Now he's gonna go save a girl. Now he's gonna kick someone else's ass for doing this. This is like, you're witnessing Superman become Superman.
Yeah. Well, that's what sort of separates this is a Superman origin as told through the eyes of a young Superman who's experiencing it for the first time.
Yeah.
So you get to see more of the side of fear when he's learning his powers.
Yeah. And
you get to see the side of how do you go to school with these powers when they're acting up and when you're first finding out about it. And the fear of being an alien and being different. And
you see a vulnerable Superman the entire time. Well, you know, he'll do something. He'll even go to his parents who console him like, hey, Clark, it's okay. And then he goes out and it shows a close-up on his face. And then it gives you that little bubble up ahead of what he's really thinking. Like, he still isn't okay with it. And it's really cool. It just makes it seem like you're reading a very human-esque story. You're reading a story about a relatable human being, which is really cool.
What did you think of Gary Frank's art in this book?
I love the art. It has like the old school Golden Age comic books kind of vibe to it, with lots of like cool colors. And
yeah, I'm pretty sure Brad Anderson is who did the colors. It might not be. I'll double check that, but I'm pretty sure Brad Anderson is typically who works exclusively with Geoff Johns, Gary Franks. Like
if he gets this wrong, he owes every viewer
and subscriber
a jar of mayo, personally signed.
I'm gonna look, folks.
Okay. Oh, here we go. Moment of truth.
A lot on the line.
Oh shit. Here's
Whoa.
your jars of mayo.
We got an ad for Batman Arkham Asylum.
I also like there was an ad for a Smallville, the TV show in there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit.
Dude, yeah.
And there's a jazz guy. I'm from Utah, everybody. So the football or the basketball team that I grew up learning to love was the Utah Jazz, and I flipped to the back page and I was like, I didn't know that the Jazz were ever good enough to have their own ads.
Dude, honestly, well, I'm pretty sure that was a Got Milk ad.
Yes, it was.
But yeah, honestly, the ads are some of the best part about reading old comics. You get to kind of have that time capsule of
what was going on.
What was going on at that time.
You get
You
some
know,
Star Wars,
Clone Wars
Oh,
on
hell
Cartoon
yeah.
Network.
Dude, I was trying to find some old Cartoon Network shows the other day. I really want to watch like Dexter's Lab.
Oh yeah.
Johnny Bravo.
The colorist is Brad Anderson, folks.
We get some mayo.
Yep, we get Mayo.
But jump back into that.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. No, you're good.
I had to
I
make sure.
challenged you.
I name dropped and then I had to make sure I was giving credit.
I really like the artwork. It wasn't the overdone, I want to see every single vein in every single person's body and every single pore, which is wonderful, really cool artwork when they can get really realistic and you can really see the expressive emotions on that. But sometimes it's really fun just to kind of have, I don't know, this story really mixed like kind of an innocent juvenile story, but also in like an adult reader's brain.
Sure.
And so it was really fun. I think the art style really complemented it as, here's a simple comic that's really fun to read, and then here's some really amazing artwork that's still going to capture everything that we wanted it to.
Yeah. Gary Frank's art, the only reason that it sometimes irks people is that he does some certain detail that he always does in his faces that some people perceive as it makes everybody look old.
Okay.
I don't see that in this. He's dealing with you get to see the difference between young and aged Clark.
Yeah.
And I've never had that agree, but that's one of the common complaints. The other thing that he does in this is he draws a lot of inspiration from Curt Swan, which is a Superman artist through the kind of the Silver Age.
Yeah.
And when you think Superman in comics, you're going to think of a Curt Swan image.
Okay.
And he also took a lot of inspiration from Superman the movie, the Christopher Reeve
Yeah.
Superman. So a lot of people say that Superman Secret Origins, this Superman looks just like Christopher Reeve movie Superman. And
Yeah.
and that's all been confirmed. It's certainly inspired by those.
Yeah.
And so some people don't like that he looks kind of skinny, normal.
Yeah.
But I really think that makes him a little bit more relatable than just the barrel-chested Superman from
Yes.
Action Comics, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think the art's fantastic.
Well,
as well.
you know, it's also really funny because I just love comic book and, you know, just your average guy who just loves looking at attractive women. It's really funny that every time they show Lois, she's always wearing a dress or a skirt. And it's funny, it's like she's in a very professional field of her career. And every single time they show her, it's like the dress is just right here, like just above mid-thigh. And they're like, we still need everyone to know that, yes, she's smart. She's a fighter of justice and the truth, and she's got a lot of brains between those ears of her, and she's not afraid to stand up to anybody, and she's feisty. She's got a fine ass and a sexy pair of legs.
She's come a long way.
You know, it's just really funny. I just think that, you know, comics will never just not capture the physical attributes that people find attractive in both men and women, and it just never goes away. And I just think it's funny.
Lois Lane is one of the best parts about reading Superman.
Yeah.
Their relationship is always interesting, whether they're telling it from a perspective where they're married and have a child, or whether they're, you know, where she still doesn't know his identity. It's always interesting, and she's always a powerful female character.
Yeah.
Not always through the publication history, but at least for the last, 40, 50 years, she's been a really strong character.
Well, and that's another good point, because in the first Superman that we read, she was kind of a damsel in distress. And it wasn't so much her fault, but it was a little bit of, we need Superman to go save her. This one was cool because we kind of saw her get into trouble, but handle it. She didn't necessarily need Superman. And it was like, it wasn't that she just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Oh no, Superman, save me. She was, I'm gonna go find out the fucking truth. I'm gonna go and interrogate Lex Luthor.
Right. Well, she slaps that guy in Action Comics #1.
Yeah, yes, she does. And so I don't know, it was really cool to see her be a very strong female character. She was really fun in this. It was really fun in this one to like get a glimpse of who she is, because you get to see her father and that she doesn't know her mother and she has a sister. I really like that aspect of it. It was cool to see an extension of characters. Like, Lois is really neat because she is a very well drawn out, written 3D character. But to me, in everything that I've always watched or read, she's just been Lois Lane. There's nothing behind her. She's just Lois Lane, she's a reporter, she loves Superman.
Yeah.
This one you're gonna know, oh, she has a family. Like this is another aspect of a already drawn out 3-dimensional character, and now they're involving them, including them.
Right.
So that was also really cool.
The biggest thing that they always do when it comes to Lois's family is just her relationship with her dad, General Lane.
Yeah.
That is stuck through, even through today, back in the day, everything. That's been because her dad and Superman don't get along. But her dad also doesn't know that Superman is with Lois.
Yeah.
And so there's always that kind of dichotomy that makes it juicy.
Yeah.
So what I want to do
is start a comic book series called Superman versus Daddy Issues.
Unsecret Origins.
Unsecret Origins.
Superman
After
Issues.
Our Dark. Daddy Issues.
Daddy Issues.
Featuring Lois Lane.
Okay.
Check it out on our Only Man.
Yeah, Only Man. What I want to do is go through some of the story beats and just get your opinion on it, because I've already read this. I know how I feel about it, but I'm curious how you feel about it.
Okay.
So, what did you think about this kind of Superman, young boy from Kansas that's learning his powers, where he starts off, obviously spoilers for a book that's 11 years old, but where he starts off, he's kind of playing some football and breaks his buddy Pete's arm.
Actually, that reminds me, because I definitely wanted to, I texted you this last night, and I said, I love the subtle hints of this, the subtleness that are in these comics of, they hint at, and they do this in the first one, which is Reflectors that you're talking about. When he jumps in front of the farm mechanic, I don't know, I lived on a farm for a year, I couldn't tell you what the names of
I think it's called a combine.
Okay, yeah, I'm like, all I know is, fuck, they got cows.
Landon will let me know.
I lived in a cow farm place. There wasn't big tractors, okay? And so when he jumps in front of it to save, I can't remember the girl that he saved.
I think it's Lana.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So he saves Lana, and it's really cool because in old Superman comics, you always hear the regular Superman, Man of Steel, and everything that he can do, jump over, leap over, and fly, and all that stuff. This one, you don't get that. Instead, he stops this thing, and he gets up and he goes, I'm stronger than steel. I love the subtleness of, we're going to hint at all of those old things that people love to hear when they read Superman. But we're not going to say them right out. I love that aspect of that. Just like subtle little hints. If you're a comic or a superhero fan, comic book fan, I'm sure you're just like, wow, I fucking get this, and this is great.
Right.
Really respecting old readers, I think.
Absolutely.
Like long-time readers. But that story, really loved that one. You kind of saw it coming a little bit. You're like, oh shit, here he goes. Like if I was 10, even if I'm 26 right now, I still wouldn't be able to control my powers. I'd be like,
yeah.
Fuck. And so I really liked it. Like I said, it's kind of fun because you know that he's also his friend, and so you just kind of see that I don't know, just guys just kind of like going back and forth and giving each other shit, which is what we always do.
Yeah.
And then, but for someone with superpowers who, might have just got a little too carried away in the moment, accidentally break that shield that he uses to protect the world from himself. So I really liked it.
Right.
What is cool.
And there's some other instances in there too with I think him and Lana share a kiss and he kind of has like a laser eyes, heat vision moment.
Yeah. I know, Clark's just beating me to a first kiss,
Yeah.
Super gross. Always stealing the girls. It's actually cool because both of those go on to carry on the story a little bit. Because after that, Clark is too afraid to go and play any more sports with his buddies, and so then they start talking shit about him, and then he confides in Lana, and then you see his laser eyes go off and he starts the school on fire, and then
he almost burns down Smallville.
Yes, and then so you then go, and that's how he gets his glasses, and then later on in the episodes when he meets Lex again, they're like, oh, I recognize his glasses anywhere. Or when he kisses, I think he kisses Lois or Lana again at some point again, and you see his eyes go red, and then later on I think he kisses Lois again, and it zooms in on his eyes real fast, the panel does, and they don't do anything. It's that subtle character arc of he's learned to start to control stuff as he's matured.
the reason why those scenes are important is because through different origins of Superman, there's versions where he lands as a baby and can lift heavy objects, like in the movie or in the Golden Age. I mean, I sent you some fun Silver Age comic covers of like, also Super Baby.
Yeah.
You know, and so there's the versions where he lands on Earth and is immediately super powerful, and then there's versions that I like better, like this story, where he doesn't develop them until he's in his teens.
Yeah.
You know, it takes a while for him to soak up the yellow sun. To make him powerful. And to make him different.
No, sorry. Yeah. No. Go ahead. I was just gonna say, I really like these comics. I really did. You know, it's funny because one of the reasons, like what, a year ago we were hanging out, and I was just like, man, I just don't like Superman. And you're like, I'm gonna convince you. Yeah. And this is a very convincing comic. It's a very convincing comic as to, this is the reason why you should love Superman.
Right. Well, it gets at everything. It gets at the interesting character moments of why the character is more than just a strong guy that can do anything.
Yes. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So the second issue really focuses on his relationship with the Legionnaire, the Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah.
What did you think about that kind of Silver Agey sci-fi future kids coming to take him?
The disappointment I had is that there's no reason to really have it. I think there is a reason to have it. It gives them that confidence of, don't worry, the future's going to be okay. But other than that, they never call back to it. They never really...
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
They don't in this.
Okay.
But you got to remember that this origin is happening while current runs are going.
Yeah.
And Geoff Johns had just done a run called Superman and the Legion of Superheroes right before this. So if you were reading Superman or Action Comics, you would have seen his future adventures with the Legion. Yeah. So then when they call back to it in here, that wraps it up.
Oh, okay.
You just haven't read that. So I can see why you're kind of like, well, they didn't follow up on it. But in fact, they do.
Okay. Well, and see, I guess that's a point to the author of just, it has that for the readers of it. But for me, who's never read the other ones, it's still cool because you still understand that this gives them the confidence of, you're going to do great things. Because it's right after he literally just started School on Fire. Like, and is getting made fun of and stuff like that.
He couldn't be more down on himself.
Exactly, and so it's still important to the story. It's just like one of those things. There are things in the first and the second comic in this series that they come back to in the later ones, and this one they just never touch on that one again.
Yeah.
So that was my only issue with that one.
Yep, I can see that. The Legion are always divisive because you're either really into the Legion or you could give a fuck less because there's so many of them. Yeah. They're so cheesy.
I know, their names are so funny. Well, you know, actually, I thought it was cool that they included Brainiac in that one.
Brainiac 5.
Okay. Yeah, well, and
it's the future version of the current villain.
Yes, and that's what I liked about it. I was like, wow, that's really cool that now he's a good guy.
And they've been doing that. That idea started in, like, the 1950s.
Really?
So that they've done a good job with Brainiac 5 for a long time.
Okay, cool. Well, and you know, it's funny watching the original Justice League. They have lots of stuff where they're at one point there's one episode where another Justice League from another world comes over to theirs. Yes. And so it wasn't completely foreign to me. And there was one where I can't remember which superhero it was on the Justice League, but they get sent to another world and just a bunch of dorky comics as well have like Justice Legion or something.
It's Green Lantern. It's John Stewart, Green Lantern, and Hot Girl, and they go and they basically visit the JSA, the Justice Society of America, but they couldn't name drop that in the show. There was a couple rights issues, and so they called them something else. But basically, they go to like 1940s United States comics world.
Yeah, I love that. And
what's interesting about that is Hawkman is on the Justice League. Yeah. Or Justice Society at that time. Yeah. And so Hawk Girl is kind of a nice combat. And then the original Green Lantern, Alan Scott, is on the Justice Society, and so it's like the modern versions with the old versions. Yeah. And that also kind of starts this fun romance arc between Hawk Girl and Green Lantern.
Don't even get me fucking started on that.
We can do a Justice League episode if you want.
I would absolutely love to, because I would love to dive into John Stewart and this Hawk Girl. I love John Stewart. He's my favorite Green Lantern.
He's badass. That show, sadly, Garrett, that show does him more justice than you will find in most of the comics. Yeah. Unfortunately.
He's just fucking badass. Anyways, sorry, we don't have to jump into that one because that is a total different episode or show for us to do. But I love that. I own all of those series on DVD.
Right.
And the Justice League Unlimited. I love those.
They're the same show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it's really cool. It wasn't foreign to me, and it's kind of cool. And especially after the introduction of you explaining, like, they were trying to get rid of these extra worlds because things started getting out of hand. This was a really way of kind of introducing that they're still out there, and it's still a possibility of we can play with time. We can still play with other dimensions and other things where other cool stories and series can happen.
Well, here's why. See, you guys didn't think you were going to get a full publication history on DC from 1938 to 2010, but you are. also written by
You know
Geoff
how
Johns.
when we have like documentaries on like the History Channel where they have like your name and your specialty, we should be like Spencer, scholar of Superman.
Yes.
Superman scholarly doctorate.
So Geoff Johns.
Okay.
20 years after Crisis on Infinite Earths, Geoff Johns wrote a story called Infinite Crisis.
Okay.
As kind of a 20th anniversary thing. It was in 2006, I think, is when it came out. And basically what they did in this story was everything goes to shit, and they poop out 52 new worlds.
Okay.
So it went from one world has now been enough for 20 years, but now we want more storytelling.
Yeah.
Because now we've built that audience from the 80s till now.
Yeah.
So then they blow it up. So actually, at the time when this is coming out, there is 52 other worlds.
Yeah.
So just like you're saying, how you were like, it kind of hints that there could be other worlds. It's because there are. And as readers at the time reading this, you haven't gotten to see them yet. So this is exciting that
Okay.
they're teasing that.
Oh, cool. Okay, cool. Okay.
You're very perceptive.
Yeah, what can I say? I've read my fair share of comics.
Yeah.
I might even put scholarly. I'm just kidding.
Scholar of
I
thinking.
do have to ask to get on a little side tangent. What do you think is the appropriate amount of time to have a big reset in a comic book series?
You should never have to. I don't think you should ever have to. Marvel never has, and they have one of the most convoluted universes of all time, especially with the X-Men.
Yeah.
It's hell.
Yes.
It's absolute hell. They desperately need one.
Okay.
And especially with the hype from the movies and the popularity they have, if they told all the movie audience, we're going to reset our comics, anybody can jump in on fresh number ones.
Yeah.
And we're going to do our due diligence to totally reset it.
Yeah.
I think they would sell like fucking gangbusters.
Yeah.
I mean, every book would be number one every month for years.
Yeah.
But they won't do it because DC did it. So they're like, that's the one thing we have.
We
they
stole
don't.
our superheroes, but we can't steal their resets.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, DC really has only done, I would say, and this is controversial, but I would say really one hard reset.
Okay.
And that was in 2011.
Okay.
The New 52.
Okay.
If you've heard of that. And that's like what Batman Court of Owls stemmed out of. Really, the other resets were sort of because of a big event that happened. New 52 is as well, but that was a true jumping on point. Jumping on points have always sold really well for DC in a short period.
Yeah.
So, I don't know that there's a right answer to what you're asking.
Okay.
If you're writing correctly, you should never have to.
Yes, I agree.
The problem is you've got a million editors and you've got a million writers and artists, and you have them write thousands of books over the course of 20 years, and all of a sudden you have the most fucked universe of all time. And it's just comics.
Yeah.
It's a book series telling the story of hundreds of characters that has been serialized every month, every week since the 1930s. It's going to be convoluted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's kind of a sore subject. I don't know if there's a right answer or wrong answer.
Well, and oh man, I'm probably really getting off the tangent here.
It's okay.
Well, folks, we lost a frack ton of footage. Okay.
We know that you think we are professionals, but to be honest with you, we're more than that. We are diehard commentators. Okay, we don't know how memory storage works. We don't even have much memory of our own. And so
I didn't even remember to plug the mic in.
Yeah, so we went on like a long 30-minute long rant for a little bit. And it cost us the rest of the video.
Yeah.
And so we're going to come back into this. And so we were talking about how bronies... I'm just kidding. So, we're trying to hop back in here, so bear with us. Things might get a little weird, a little funky.
We had just finished talking about Lex Luthor.
Yes.
And I had brought up, what do you think about the county fair? And what do you think about them bringing Lex Luthor and Clark's relationship as kids up in Smallville. We started talking a little bit about his dad, and then you were about to go on your pitch for Superman Daddy Issues,
Yes.
the comic series.
Because it'd be great issues. But instead, we're going to do a little, what do they call them when you go back in time, like a little in a TV show? Flashback. We're going to do a quick flashback of the last video of what I said before we lost it. We don't have the footage. So, but yeah, so we're going into Lex Luthor and how he, you get the hint that he killed his father in order to get the life insurance on him. So he can go and start what he is trying to do, which is get out of Smallville. And really, he has always just kind of had this God complex of, I'm so smart and powerful and I'm above everybody in Smallville.
Yes.
Which he uses that life insurance fund to really then say, I'm better than everyone on this planet. And I think the main gist of what I was getting at is really, it sets up the big fight between what he and Superman are really after. They're both wanting to do something better for the planet. They both think, well, no, I should say Lex Luthor thinks that he is the answer for the planet. He thinks that he is the savior. And Lois does that plenty of times, that he's trying to stop trying to be the savior of the planet. And it's funny because it's really funny also to kind of hint at the main editor over at Planet, or what is it?
Perry White.
Yes. He always says, Lois, you suck at spelling. So I think that's also really funny.
Yeah.
Because she's like, there's no you or something in it. But, Lex Luthor thinks that he is the savior for Earth. And then there's Superman, who is, I am not the savior of this planet. I'm just here to help you guys. Which, and to skip 3 comics, it's really cool at the very end when people are asking him, what are you here for? What do you want from us? And he goes, I am not the hero here. I am not someone who is going to be your guys' savior. He goes, that's up to you guys. I'm just here to help out when accidents happen, really.
Yeah.
Or to stop the people who really no one can stop.
Yeah.
But he says, you guys are the ones that actually make a difference. And it's funny because he becomes what Lex wanted to be the whole time.
Right.
And so you can see this starting at just an episode, or in comic book 2 or 3. You see that just starting to ripe a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's stick with the villains.
Okay.
What did you think about Parasite? We've got this story of this janitor that we meet a few times that essentially, gluttony is his vice. He eats a radioactive, or like, some kind of crazy donut.
Yeah.
And he becomes the parasite.
He is a supervillain Homer Simpson, and as a guy who loves The Simpsons, I love it.
Right.
And so, interesting with him, I know I say interesting a lot, but
It's an interesting story.
It's an interesting story, and I'm 2 beers deep, so we're not gonna, my vocabulary is shrinking by the sip over here, folks. So, I've never heard of Parasite. I don't think he was ever in any of the Justice League.
So he would have been in Superman,
TV
the
series.
animated series then, which I would highly encourage you to watch.
Okay.
It's same art team and everything from the Justice League.
Okay. Well, and it's funny because I'm looking at the comic book cover and I'm like, who the hell is this pink guy? Like, if I was a superhero, I'm not afraid of a guy in pink.
Right.
Okay. And I used to be on a judo team, and I used to be called Gigi. And so when I'd go out and fight, people would yell, "Go Gigi!" No one was afraid to fight me. If I was wearing a pink gi, no one would be afraid to fight me. If I see a supervillain in pink, I wouldn't be afraid of him.
Right.
But
A big fat pink villain.
exactly.
What makes him great, which you would see if you were, going to watch the animated series to get like the perfect origin for him. But he really is a great foil for Superman because what the Parasite does is he feeds off your energy.
Okay.
So if you put him in, a prison, he's going to feed off everybody there and be the toughest guy there.
Okay.
And so when you put him against Superman, while Superman might overlook him at first, if he can just get that one blow to work and he can take some of Superman's energy, he's a true villain against Superman, a true threat to the planet.
Well, and actually, you explaining that is the first time they explain it. I don't think they ever explain it in the comics. They never say that. And so there's that one point where Parasite does get him and he bites him, and it's the first time you see Superman go, wow, someone is actually hurting me. This has never happened. I've had bullets bounce off me and all kinds of stuff.
He's like, wow, that tickles.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's interesting that you brought up, because I was just kind of like, I don't get what his power was besides just being this pink radioactive monster.
There's a badass Golden Age Superman cover, by the way, where Superman gets struck by lightning and he goes, that tickles. It's fucking badass.
Yeah, well, that was in the 50s. That happens like daily for me, so.
You get struck by lightning and it tickles you?
I just get tickled.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, in regards to Parasite, I thought he was a fun villain, because they hint at the janitorial guy beforehand, and I just think that he's just kind of a side character. He's just another person personifying the atmosphere of Metropolis, of just this place where no one gives a shit. It's just dog eat dog. It's what Lois says, it's a dog weighed down by the fleas. And I love that metaphor. And I thought people couldn't come up with new metaphors, and apparently they can't.
Well, they could in 2010, but not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. If I say like or as, there's nothing following.
Thank you, Lil Wayne.
Yes, exactly. And so, I really liked him, and to see it come from a character that I thought was just following the old lady that Superman bumps into and she's all pissed off. I thought she was just, okay, well, here's another example of Metropolis. And then to see him become the villain, I was like, oh, this is a really nice surprise. So I liked that a lot.
Yeah.
Without going into detail, explaining me to what he really was.
Right.
So thank you for that.
Yeah. And you know what? Parasite can maybe be used differently in different ways, but at least in what I've read with the Parasite in there, he's not used too often.
Yeah.
But that's why he's tough. If he does land that bite, he can become just as strong as Superman.
Well, and you can see, if you see the same Superman or same superhero go against the same super villain every single time, it's going to grow stale. They only have so many moves that can beat each other. And so, which made it cool for me. I've never seen this guy on screen or on a comic book page before. What is he going to do?
Right.
And so yeah, it was pretty cool. It was fun to see.
I don't know that Parasite would work as well on screen as maybe some other more grounded Superman villains.
Yeah.
But, okay, well then let's talk about the Kryptonite Man.
Yeah.
They might not even call him the Kryptonite Man in this, but that's sort of what he's known as.
Yeah.
Essentially, you've got this guy, this military type. He gets hit by a ricocheting bullet from Superman, which drives his hate towards Superman.
Yeah.
He confides in Lex Luthor. Lex saves his life. And to save his life, as part of some of Lex's experiments, right, he imbues the man with kryptonite, making him incredibly deadly to Clark.
Yeah.
What do you think about that idea and how they used him as a villain in this story?
So, when they first bring him in, he's introduced as the third part in the love triangle between Superman, or Clark, Lois, and him.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, great. We got, 2011 people going Team Kryptonite Man and Team Superman. I was like, oh, great, okay. Team Edward, Team Jacob.
Right.
And so I was just like, oh, great. It does add a depth to Lois, for sure, who is already a very in-depth character in the series.
There's a lot of comments. There's a lot of comics where Lex is the third part between Superman.
Really?
And it's very one-sided. Lex desperately tries to get with Lois.
Yeah.
And Lois lets him so that she can kind of get the scoop on the story.
Oh,
but the public perception,
I didn't know that.
the public doesn't know that she's with Superman. They know that she's kind of on again, off again with Clark.
Yeah.
So then when they see her with Lex Luthor, and she's this, Pulitzer Prize winning author that's somehow popular in this comic book.
Yeah.
That's like a big story deal for like TMZ.
Oh.
So the press sees Lex and Lois together a lot. So this story does that a little differently, where they have like Lex's understudy sort of become entangled.
That's really neat. Okay, that's cool. I had no idea. Okay. So that's the first introduction to Kryptonite Man. Afterwards, when you see him come back and just being the embodiment of Superman's weakness, I thought it was just kind of a cheap gimmick in a way we have super villains constantly have kryptonite to try and beat Superman, but a rock can't beat this guy. So let's just combine him with who utilizes a rock, a villain and a rock, and let's just try and make him one thing. And so it almost comes off, I don't want to call it a cheap gimmick, because it could be done really well, I don't know. But it just seems like we needed something to try and we built up this whole tension between Superman and Lex Luthor this whole time. We introduced them early on. We kind of noted that they want the same thing, and Superman's already thwarted Lex Luthor once, and so he has to come back with a bigger stake.
Yeah.
And so he comes back with the main weakness of Superman, the only weakness for Superman.
Right.
And so, to me, it was too much, too fast, maybe.
Sure.
There could have been better villains, for sure.
Yeah. So the thing with the Kryptonite Man is that it's a little on the nose.
Yeah.
But you've got to put yourself in this time where, not in the time of publication, but the time in Superman's life.
Yeah.
Where he's had that little experience with Kryptonite before where he felt kind of weird around it with Lex at the State Fair. But this is sort of him finding out that is really going to mess with him. And I think the idea is the Kryptonite radiation affects Superman in a way that it drains his powers that he's gained from the Earth's yellow sun.
Yeah.
And it puts him back to like a basic state, and it hurts him to drain that from him.
Yeah.
And so, it's a good foil like once.
Yes.
The problem is that, over 80 years of Superman, you got to use it more than once at some point, and now it's kind of overused. I think I give it a pass in this story because the intention of this story is this could be your first Superman story. So you got to introduce Kryptonite in such a way.
Yeah.
And the Kryptonite Man, while it's on the nose, works. And I think I mentioned to you a little before is this story is sort of stuck in continuity where, Grant Morrison's Final Crisis is using Darkseid, so they can't really use Darkseid.
Yeah.
And they just dealt with Brainiac, so they can't really use Brainiac.
Yeah.
But they've got to use villains that kind of work with Lex, because they need to use Lex. And so they're kind of stuck with these guys.
Well, and to piggyback on that, one of my favorite Justice League is when Brainiac and Darkseid team up against Superman. And there's a point in that episode where Superman is just fucking pummeling Darkseid. And for a moment, he's getting so heated that you actually think he's going to kill him.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite episodes of Justice League. And I'll never forget. I actually thought, I was like, is Superman going to, break his moral code here with these guys? And so getting back to the comic, it's really cool because this whole comic book series has been just kind of building these characters, really building who they are, making you really love them or really hate them, if it's supposed to be a future bad guy or not. And so it makes you invest in all these guys, and it gives you so many character arcs. It shows you Clark gain his powers, learn how to deal with them, and then later on, he's overcome them. It gives you Lex Luthor, who's become just the nerd who thinks he's better than everybody, to the guy who has pretty much lost what he had. I mean, you saw him at the very end of the last comic. He goes out at 8 a.m. sharp to address the world of Metropolis, everybody looking for a miracle, and no one's there. Yeah. And so you see all these different story arcs happen, and so Kryptonite Man, given it wasn't the most satisfying ending to the series, because you just have, before that, 5 comic books of just tension building. Yes. You have it pretty unsatisfyingly ended, but you have now wrapped up or learned one more thing about Superman. He is truly, and he learns this more than you, the reader, I have a weakness to kryptonite. Yeah. And so that sets it up, and that's kind of the thing that I hate about this series of comics is there should be 12, there should be 18. Yeah. It ends with that. It's a perfect setup to go on to something else. And I mean, we definitely talked about it before this. 11 and 12 should be Lex Luthor's comeback. 7 through 10 should have been more villains coming out of Superman.
Right. Or spacing out the villains to give them their proper due.
Yes. Yes, without a doubt. Raise the stakes a little bit.
Because I agree with you that the lead up through the first 5 issues of this is really well paced. It gives everything its room to breathe. And then the final issue is kind of a little bit rushed.
Well, and I guess that's the thing. There's just no stakes. It was what's going to happen when we came in, when we with Clark came into Metropolis, Lex Luthor already owned it. I mean, Lois says he owns 78% of the city. So he already owns it. So what does he have to lose when he has these supervillains taking on Superman?
Right.
It's just, okay, if they were to kick Superman's ass, what's going to happen? Lex Luthor hasn't said he's going to go take over the world yet.
Right.
So maybe, they could have raised the stakes. They could have gone to 12 comic books. But for the first 6, it's fantastic of just setting this up for what can be so many great Superman adventures after that.
Yeah. And that is another piece of why this is sort of, I think, kind of a rush job is, Geoff Johns and this team, they had done the Legion of Superheroes stuff. They have done the Brainiac stuff. They're working in Action Comics. They're hot off the heels of Infinite Crisis. He's doing his Green Lantern thing. You saw an ad for, you probably didn't notice it, but it's for Green Lantern Blackest Night. It's like a zombie Green Lantern book at the end of this. Okay. That was what he did like right after this.
Okay, cool.
And that was like a huge mega event for DC.
Yeah.
And so I think that there was a little bit of time constraint here where they had to kind of finish up what they wanted. He did a great job building it up, but like I agree with you. Even my first reading of this, the ending didn't give me that satisfying Superman ending that I wanted. But I mentioned to you before, I was also reading Superman and Action Comics and Final Crisis and all the other stuff, Green Lantern. So I didn't need it to be, because I could piece where this fits in with everything else.
Yeah.
Whereas for you, as your first read, you want a more complete ending than this.
Well, and that's the thing. This comic book series did a great job of just making you want to turn the page. And then to end on that, you're like, okay, there has to be more. There has to be more. We've set the stage for anything and everything to happen at this point.
And there is. It's just not in this comic.
Yes, yeah. So
what would you give it out of green tits? How many tits out of 10 would you give this one?
Well, I'm never going to short myself on green titties.
20.
Are they Twilight green titties?
Well, are we doing sets?
Or like human green titties? Because of
Poison Ivies.
Poison Ivies. Okay, that's different because I'm like, if I see a green human titty, that's not right. So
right.
Okay, we're going Poison Ivy titties. So
right.
For the job that this was supposed to do, set up the next iteration of this whole new
and introduce somebody to Superman.
Correct. Yes.
Fresh start.
For the fresh start aspect of it, and really being able to just, I mean, if I was an author who was gifted the next, you're gonna write for Superman, this is perfect. I mean, you are.
They've teed you up.
Exactly. You have some big shoes to step in and really can kind of do whatever you want and have some fun with it. I think.
Yeah.
I would give it a good old 10 Poison Ivy titties for sure.
Okay, 10 sets or just 10 total?
I'll never say no to 10 sets.
Okay,
I mean, as long as it's not an odd number, I guess.
Right.
10 sets. Yeah. And then, but as far as like on its own, because like we kind of hinted at, it just isn't the most satisfying ending of the rise in action didn't meet, I think, the resolution and the climax that could have been there. I'd still give it an 8 for just the amount of story, the amount of character building, character arcs, the fun of it, the art of it. It's still a great read. I mean, as someone who wasn't a Superman fan, as someone who isn't going to go every Saturday to a comic book store and buy a comic, this is a great and super fun. I mean, really, really fun read.
Yeah, I think I would give this book an 8.5, kind of right in the middle of your two scores.
You want a half a titty?
I'm going 8.
Are you going like nipless? Is that what you're going for?
Yes.
Okay, a nipless titty.
Right.
A nipless knife.
I think that this did a great job. I remember reading this for the first time and loving it. I was also a little bit dissatisfied with the ending at the time, but it went well with everything else.
Yeah.
It matched the tone of the universe at the time. I think this does a good job. Otherwise, I wouldn't have said, hey, read this and see if this makes you interested in Superman.
Yeah.
I think it does a good job. The art is great.
Yes.
The coloring is fantastic. The inking is fantastic. Everything's good on this issue. The writing, the dialogue feels natural. It doesn't feel forced.
Well, and that's actually a good point to bring up, because on the last one we talked a lot about how the word blocks kind of made a difference in the two stories. There's none of that in this one. There is no third narrator having to tell me what's going on.
Yeah, this whole story is from Clark's point of view.
Yes.
Which is that, like I said, that's kind of what separates it from the other origins.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'd give this one 8.5, really good read. You know, for those of you out there that maybe haven't read this, haven't given it a chance, haven't given Superman a chance, this is a perfect jumping on point. I mentioned Man of Steel from John Byrne in the 1980s, 86, I think, and then Superman Birthright by Mark Waid and Lionel Yu on art. Those are both fantastic jumping on points. Jump on those too if you're curious. But I'd say for my money, this one is 6 issues. It's the quickest and easiest to get. And you know what, easiest to find probably. So I would maybe jump for this one. And I think that everybody will generally like it. Well, and there's nothing too crazy.
I mean, I read these in 2 lunch breaks at my work. I mean, they're a quick, fun read. Like,
yeah,
I mean, like I said, they make one turn the page without a doubt.
Yeah.
So it's a super nice, brisk read and introduction to something if you're interested in.
Well, I'm glad that you liked it because we had been sort of battling for the last few years about me trying to convince you that Superman is more than just the Boy Scout that can kill anything.
Yeah.
And Batman is more than well, I can solve any problem, which, I mean, they do a better job with Superman than Batman on that.
Well, it's really funny because when we always talk comics, I'm a big, like, Conan the Barbarian fan.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because Conan's really just a barbarian Superman. He's just a little more vulgar. He's like, yeah, I actually want to go with my lustful wants in life, you know? And I mean, they're really this, I don't want to say they're similar, but Conan is nothing more than just an ageless trope.
Yeah.
Through and through. And so it's kind of funny for me to get with you and say, I don't like Superman for these reasons. And you could easily say, well, Conan the Barbarian's literally the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, this book I just think does a good job at squashing the ideas, the preconceptions that people might have. And that's why I thought it would be good.
Yeah.
And I would recommend that to everybody out here. And thank you guys for watching. Let us know what you think about this book if you haven't read it, and let us know if you might want to pick it up. Like I said, you can find it in trade, you can find it in hardcover, you can find it in single issues, any Comic-Con, comic store, back issue bins. You can find it anywhere. It's a good comic. They made a ton of them. It should be easy to find. And let us know what you guys think. Let us know what you want us to review next. But, a little sneak preview, the next video we're going to be doing is on Batman, The Court of Owls, written by Scott Snyder with art by Greg Capullo. The first arc in the New 52, we're going to see what Garrett thinks about a new version of Batman coming off the heels of Detective 27.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
All right, guys, have a Mayo day.
Have a great Mayo day.